Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lighting Tapes. And let's get right to the news.
Let's start with some controversy.
Dun,
Bum,
dun,
bum, bum. So, Jude Law did an interview with GQ. This interview goes over his entire career, and he had something to say about being in Skeleton Crew. And this is just, I feel, very interesting, and maybe they kind of let him into this.
No, interviewers leading you with a question? What?
They kind of asked him, because but mind you, during his career, he's done a lot of projects, including some very strong fan base projects like Harry Potter.
He was Dumbledore.
He was Dumbledore.
I mean, that is like the Darth Vader of Harry Potter, right? The character that like transcends. I don't. Am I wrong? I would say Harry Potter's the Luke, and like Hermione is the Leia, and Ron's not Han. Ron's a
Wouldn't
Chewbacca.
Dumbledore be like the Obi-Wan?
No,
Because
I guess
he-
Voldemort. Yeah, I get. But I mean,
Literally the Obi-Wan?
No,
Where you go back
you
in
get what I'm
time and see
saying.
his past even? And then
I'm saying in terms of like popularity, because I don't think Obi-Wan with the prequel. God, I don't know.
You're
I
messing
got
everything
nothing.
up.
I got
Okay.
nothing.
But the interviewer did ask him about his experiences in two particularly strong, shall we say, or outspoken fandoms, and if that adds like spice to his decision to join the Star Wars universe.
He could also be the Yoda. Sorry.
I'm not talking to you anymore. So what he said about that is, it makes me a little bit nervous, if I'm honest. In the same way, I felt a responsibility to really make sure Dumbledore had a heart and soul that was considered and true. It's the same with this. I mean, there are haters everywhere, it seems, nowadays, unfortunately. People have very acute opinions of this galaxy and how it should be handled. Obviously, you hope you're going to get a majority of them on your side, and you're aware that you may not win all of them over.
I don't like the use of the word haters all the time.
It's
That
a
is such
strong word.
Well, it implies like such a oh, you just hate, like that. There's no reason for the hate. That's just what you are. You're somebody who hates things, and you have to go out there and voice it. When
Yeah.
99% of there are trolls who will hate on anything just to get a rise out of people. But if you're talking about like actual fans, they're not haters. If you care that much about Star Wars, you're not a hater. You love it, but you're upset about things, and then you want to express that. And maybe you don't do it in the best possible way all the time, but you're not a hater. You are a little too passionate of a fan, I think is an even better way to put it. You love it, but you get, you get a little over the top sometimes with your criticism. But you have the right to be harsh if you want to be.
Exactly.
But I get what he's saying from an actor's perspective. That sometimes if you're not well versed on the Star Wars fandom and you jump in and you get a negative response, you probably feel attacked. When it's just, for better or worse, fans being fans.
Yeah, and you
expressing
feel
their
attacked,
love.
but they might not be directed at you, but they
Yeah.
don't know exactly where to direct it, so it goes at the actor, when sometimes it should be the writers or the directors who are a little
I don't
at
know
fault.
that but it's not always directed at the actor. In fact, oftentimes I'd say it's not directed at the actor, but it gets conflated as an attack on the actor, especially if it can make a good news story, quote unquote. Where, they're attacking this character, it must be because this character is played by X person, so now it's a big story, when in reality they just didn't like this character in the story, and then it becomes something more. I'm not saying they've never attacked actors, but I don't think it happens as often as it gets made out to be. Mm-hmm. It is again conflated out of a desire to write articles with catchy headlines.
All right, let's move into something else. I think there was a big round table interview with Watts and Ford, the creators of Skeleton Crew.
Yep.
And they said some really cool things, kind of about the timeline, the Suburbia Earth homeworld, some Easter eggs stuff that are very interesting. First off, they said their aim for this show is that they wanted people who don't know things about Star Wars, don't know anything about Star Wars, to watch it and think it's a good show, that it's like a great entry to Star Wars. But they also wanted to make sure that super fans like them love it and make it work on both levels.
Well, I think that's the key to a good Star Wars show. I think, you always want to appeal to a broad audience, obviously, but you also want to, if you're that Star Wars fan, you've watched everything, you keep up with everything, you know it like the back of your hand, you want to feel like, they're giving you a little nod and a wink. It's that fine line between the two, to make it something that you can lure in new people, new fans, or make new fans, and yet the hardcore fans also enjoy it.
Absolutely. When they went into why they chose the time period they did, the Mandalorian time period, we shall say, the time
were told
between
to, probably.
episodes. Well,
That's my guess. There's probably a little link or connection to Mandoverse stuff in there, but go on.
The fact that John and Dave are executive producers on the show,
Yeah.
probably, yeah. But they said that we like the idea that the time of the galaxy is a little bit less settled. Things are a little more up in the air, and if you're going to pick a time to have a group of kids get lost in the galaxy, and there's not really going to be anyone there that can rescue them and bring them home, this felt like the right time.
I can agree with that. It
It's
makes
not,
sense.
They're not organized, you know?
Well, the New Republic is still, and we know the New Republic
Fledgling,
has issues because we can see in the Mandalorian and stuff, and we know that they don't last very long. But yeah, I guess it makes sense in that respect that this is an unsettled time in the galaxy where pirates are probably doing pirate things.
Yeah. As for the Jedi aspect of the show, I mean, we've heard in the trailers and stuff that kids are like, I read stories about the Jedi, and you're a Jedi, right? Well,
Totally.
What they said is, we wanted to include the idea that these kids had heard of Jedi and tales of good versus evil in a kind of way, like on our planet we have fairy tales or King Arthur stories of the Round
Or
Table.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean,
We wanted to make sure we did it in a careful way where it didn't feel like a weird meta thing. So women as friends, they know about Jedi, they've read Jedi stories, they even do a pretend lightsaber fight, but we were very clear we didn't want to cross certain lines. Like when they do their pretend lightsaber fight, they make the wrong noises because they haven't seen the movies, they've never seen a lightsaber in real life, so finding ways to make it feel authentic to the Star Wars galaxy, you know, like their toys aren't from Kenner, they're like tin toys, like a more old-fashioned, pre-commercialized kind of toy.
okay.
I like that they would make the wrong noises for lightsabers because they've never seen them.
Yeah, but I mean, it always makes me wonder how much the average person in the like the HoloNet exists. Like how much or how easily can the average person in the Star Wars galaxy get their hands on information? Like with our internet, if you can imagine it, you can find it on the internet somewhere.
Yes, but when the Empire took control, they probably tried to wipe
totally get
so
that.
much of the
Totally
Jedi's out of
agree.
existence. So
Totally
how
agree.
easily would it be for these kids to get these stories and get like an actual hollow of Jedi fighting?
I agree, but at the same time, it's the same thing with the. I mean, if we're kind of comparing the HoloNet to the internet, like once it's on the internet, you're never erasing it totally. So you do wonder how much how much did this planet have in their archives about the Jedi? Did they have pictures or stories or videos from the Clone Wars? And did the Empire come here and erase their archive? It's a stupid question. It doesn't need to be gone into. I've already gone into it enough, but I've always found that curious.
As for why they chose the Earth-like Suburbia, Watts said, to us it started with a story perspective. We wanted to create an environment that feels safe and protected and sort of evoked that feeling that you're a kid and you don't want to do your homework and you kind of want to run away and have an adventure. I guess that makes enough sense.
I think they could have made it a little more alien. I don't have a problem with the idea of suburbs in a Star Wars planet, but that they look so reminiscent to our suburbs here on Earth, that kind of takes me out a little bit.
Then they talked about a tribute they decided to put into the show to the holiday special.
Oh boy.
Yeah. He said, we thought we may be able to use some like pre-existing footage, but no. The footage was too low resolution and it was at the wrong angles. We had to create this moment from multiple angles because you see it in various parts of the scene. So we rebuilt the whole thing from scratch. We had to dig up the original designs for the costumes, which were in the Lucasfilm archive, get all the original specs. We had to redo the music from scratch because there was no copy of the actual score anywhere. We had to rebuild that. It ended up being 20 times more work than we anticipated, and our stunt coordinator is the main performer in it, and he was able to re-choreograph the routine too, because it's a very acrobatic routine.
Oh my god.
I will say without saying what it is, which is pretty obvious now.
Yeah. It's when they watch the little acrobats perform. It's
The
gotta
little
be.
like circusy thing.
Yeah, the little weird.
Do you think they actually go to where the thing is?
Or do you think it just have that as a hologram? They see it as a hologram somewhere?
I don't know. I don't
Oh
know.
my
Remember, there's
God.
multiple angles too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
excellent. I'll put a little clip for everybody. I'll try to. Yeah, I will. I'll put just a quick little glimpse so you can see if you've never seen the holiday special, which you're missing. You're missing out. You should watch it this holiday season.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll put a little clip there for you.
They also have some references to legends, which is going to be exciting because
Cool.
Yeah. And the last thing they talked about was the little creature from Captain EO, which I think is kind of adorable.
You noticed, you spotted that like immediately.
Yeah,
like,
because I saw this. It was a short film starring Michael Jackson that was in like the 1980s in the theme park, and I think I was there when I was like 5, 6, I don't know, something like that, and I saw it. It was a 3D movie.
It's your Return of the Jedi. I saw Return of the Jedi when I was like 5 or 6.
No, this is a short film. It's not very long.
I know. I've seen it too.
But what's interesting is it was directed by Francis Ford Coppola and co-written by George Lucas.
Directed by... All right. All right.
So he, Watts says, I remember talking about Captain EO, and they were like, well, technically that's George Lucas too. So is there anything you wanted to steal from Captain EO? I really didn't know that George Lucas was involved in Captain EO.
Well, he had to be involved in something. He had to say yes to it. I mean, he had the power to say no with all that. But anyway.
So that's how that ended up in there.
All right, but I think on that note, that's going to be all we got for you this time, Captain EO. So take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news, and let's talk some Star Wars. And so until next time, thanks for watching.